Hello and welcome to the Education on Fire podcast. The place where we share creative and inspiring learning in our schools. Season 2, Episode 20. Hello and welcome back to Education on Fire with me, Mark Taylor. This is part 2 of our Nape Computing and EdTech conference special this week. And I hope you've enjoyed part 1, which was with Stella James and Tim Rylands. Today you're going to be hearing from Katie from Too Simple Software, from Atmos Technology, who were there as part of the trade show, and also our Vice Chair, Stewart Swan. So here we are, still at the Nape conference. I'm joined now by Katie from
Too Simple Software.
From Too Simple Software. So, first of all, could you tell us why you decided to be part of this conference and what it is you've got to offer the teachers that have come and the education people who've come to take part today?
Yes, Too Simple are hopefully kind of a household name in education and schools. And if you're looking at EdTech, Too Simple falls very, very nicely under that category, especially when you're looking at creativity and looking at the speakers that you've brought in today, people like Tim Rylands and Sarah Neild, Miles Berry, fantastic people who we're also proud to associate ourselves with. So yes, Too Simple are here at the Nape conference, really plugging the creative classroom.
Great. And what is the creative classroom in your eyes?
Well, the creative classroom is actually no longer defined by 4 physical walls. The creative classroom is now extended to home as well. So we are looking at a program called Purple Mash, which probably many of the schools will be familiar with. It's won multiple awards.
Yes, I've heard it from my kids' schools.
Oh, brilliant.
So yes,
that's great.
I'm aware.
So being online, it means that children can access their learning very easily, both at school, at home, on holiday, wherever you want. And it's where children can get, I suppose, digitally messy. So they can paint, they can write, they can make models, design their own games, do coding, and a whole host of wonderful things that fits in with the kind of topics and learning, teaching and learning that happens at school.
Oh, great. So it's kind of like an umbrella for all your sort of computing needs and online needs.
That's a lovely way to describe it. So it's a website. Purple Mash is a website. And for those schools that are familiar with some of our old CDs, they will find them all through Purple Mash, plus all of our new ones. So this week we've just launched 2 blog, which is on there, and it gives children a real audience and purpose for their writing.
Brilliant.
And the week before we released Mini Mash, which is especially, it's like a Purple Mash for early years. So that's also been delivered free to all our Purple Mash users too. So lots of exciting things happening in the world of Purple Mash.
Great. I like the blog idea. Where does the blog go to? Is it published online for anyone to read, or do you have restrictions on that with its parents?
The admin can decide exactly who they want the audience to be. They could restrict it to certain children or teachers or classes within Purple Mash, or they have the option to give a global audience to those children. And we all know that when children have a real audience for their work, they tend to take more pride and care in what they're doing. So they can shout out and celebrate and be proud of what they've been doing.
Absolutely. And what I love about this is you'll know from season 1, Education on Fire is all about creativity, learning, and things being relevant. And the idea of writing a blog that's got an audience, which has got a purpose, which is probably behind it got something the child is passionate about,
yes,
that they can then share with the world, or share with their class, or share with their friends, or even get the chance to tell their parents, which might be something they've not spoken to them about directly in a different way, just suddenly has much more purpose, and it becomes real, and it's also in the now.
Pupils a voice, doesn't it? And what's really neat about 2Blog, because there are many blogging tools out there, is that children can attach with a click of one button any work that they've created in Purple Mash. So they can upload perhaps a leaflet or a game that they've created, invite others to play it, comment on it, and so on. So again, real purpose for their actual work too.
That's great. And I think for teachers and also parents as well, as a parent myself, there are various things that come and go through school and various different sites and things that the kids have to log on to and that sort of thing. So to have something which is under one umbrella where you just know when you're doing that kind of thing, here we are, we know where we're going, we can remember the login details, we know what's going on, I think is of great benefit. And especially for the teachers as well, because it just sounds like there's a lot of scope there for lots of tools which the children can use.
Yes, not only that, Mark, but also you could use that same tool from nursery through to year 6. So for teachers, for planning, for school management, this is something that is a whole school resource.
Fantastic. So once you're in it, then you can really just use it across the whole
Yes,
across the whole
get
board.
Real use from something that you invest in.
And that's all the way from literally doing creative online artwork, as you said, all the way through to blogging and everything in between, I guess.
Absolutely. Blogging, coding, game design, 3D models, 3D printing, you can do it. I mean, so many things. It's like, I always compare it to a treasure box. It's full of jewels, full of treasure. You don't need to wear every single thing at the same time, but it's there if you do want to wear it that day.
And that's a fantastic snapshot there. Treasure. Is it treasure chest? Treasure chest. I mean, that's
it's probably my own unique one, but
that's fantastic, because then your whole feeling of your day, of what you're going to be creating today, sounds inspiring. It sounds creative. It sounds like it's going to be fun.
And you're going to find a gem in there,
yes,
definitely.
Absolutely, and that sounds great. So, if you want to find out more, log on to educationonfire.com, and we'll have resources and everything on the show notes, and you'll be able to click through and find out more information.
Thanks
you. Thanks very much for speaking to us.
My pleasure.
Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thanks.
So here we are, still at the Nape conference. I'm chatting to Ian from Atmos Technology. You've got a trade stand here today. Can you tell me why you're here and what it is you've got to offer schools?
Well, we're a relatively new company, just approaching our 3rd year. We've recently opened an office in Oxfordshire, so this is nice and local for us. We're a full-service ICT provider for schools. That's our speciality. We're all people who've worked for schools ICT providers in the past, and we think we can do it. We're basically small enough to care and big enough to cope.
That's great. It sounds like a perfect combination.
Yeah. We also have a sister company that's a social enterprise broadband provider called NetNexu. So we can actually provide broadband at cost pricing or make a small profit on it, and that allows us to give money back to the school, whether they want to give it to a good cause or whether they wish to use it for something else. So we have a school at the moment in Oxfordshire who's talking about using the cashback that they'll get off that to help fund a rural bus service, which will obviously allow kids to get to school without being in a big Range Rover. It's North Oxfordshire after all. But obviously Oxfordshire County Council have pulled the funding for rural buses, so this is a real issue for small villages, and the school, in their engagement with the community, hope to be able to help in providing this.
And community is such a big thing now, and so to have companies and schools and everybody working together to make everyone's life easier is just a great thing to do.
We're talking at times of austerity. Schools are struggling for money, so I know they're being told that if they can rent their facilities out or find other ways of raising revenue, then obviously that helps them to put the provisions in place to get on with what they should be doing, which is teaching our kids.
Brilliant. And so schools can contact you, what, if they just want an iPad, all the way through to if they want a whole new ICT
It can
suite?
be something as boring as I need 2 1-metre patch cables. That's absolutely fine. We will quote that. We've always found that if you do a good job on the small stuff, when bigger things come along, you get a chance at it. And the aim is always to be a trusted advisor. So we're kind of a no-bull company. I would rather on occasion challenge my customers in the way that they want to do things and give them different ideas about how to do things than just accept that this is the way it should be done, because we're in the IT industry, they're in the teaching industry. They don't necessarily know what technology is out there that could help them do things better. You see what I mean? So
Absolutely, and the thing is that technology is changing all the time, and so I think having a partner that you can work with, because you're going to be developing, you spent your money this year, and next year there's going to be something else you need, and to have someone that you've got confidence just to be able to phone up and say, look, we're here now, we need something else, can you help us? Can you help us plan? I think that's quite an important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the moment we're working with a school in Milton Keynes who are having a new site. It's being built and will open in September next year. They wanted it to effectively be an extension of their existing school, so we're working with them on the broadband and the leased line and all the technology that will go into it, so that it's effectively one entity, even though the 2 sites will be a mile apart. So a teacher can walk from one school into the other, all their information that they need access to is there. And we're helping in helping with the main contractors as well, because big construction companies do have a habit of over-specifying things at times when it's unnecessary. And obviously they're construction companies as well, so IT isn't necessarily their speciality. So it's all about consulting with everybody and trying to get the school to where they want to be.
Sure.
And giving them a vision for where they wish to be in the future and how they will go about achieving that.
And that seems like a really important thing. You mentioned your here in Milton Keynes and Oxford, obviously where the conference is today. And is there plans to be a bit more national than that? Is it going to be growing? And
the plan is, as we expand, to develop small regional offices so that we're always a local company. Obviously, we're in the Thames Valley at the moment. We have customers nationwide, and as that business grows, then it will justify having an office there. So we actually have an office in the East End of London because we have a managed service in a school in the East End of London. It's the biggest free school so far open. It's called School 21. So our technicians are in there. They have the backing of everybody in the office, the technical people and all of those guys. We do our best for them. That is the idea ultimately, to have small hubs dotted around, so we're always that local company.
It sounds perfect, and I think the big thing about tech, from my point of view at the minute, is the fact that it seems impersonal because it's all about technology, but as we realise that as everything in life, it's all about relationships, it's all about community, it's all about having faith in the people that you're working with, and having that seems to be what the company really stands for, which sounds like a great basis.
Well, when it comes down to it, you actually don't even really need an office anymore. We're an entirely cloud-based company. All of our systems are in the cloud. I can tether my phone in a car park in the north of Scotland and still have access to all the systems that I need. And it's the way the world's going. Virtual offices. The physical presence, people like the fact that you have an office there and there are people nearby. It actually isn't really necessary anymore. So that's our plan is, like I say, to have small regional offices. No massive overheads with a big main office or anything like that, because you don't need that kind of thing anymore.
No. Great. Well, Ian, thanks very much for speaking to us today.
No problem. Thank you, Mark.
And as I've said before, all the details of these conversations I'm having throughout the day of the conference will be on educationonfire.com, and there'll be links and everything, so you can get more about Atmos Technology through there. Lovely. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
I'm joined by Stewart Swan.
Hello.
Who's going to be one of the keynote speakers here at the Nape conference. Can you just tell us a little bit about what it is you're going to be chatting about to everybody?
I will. Hi, Mark.
Hi.
Hello. So I'm here in two capacities, really. First as Vice Chair of Nape. So when I'm not watching what's going on or doing my presentation, I'll be on the Nape stall here, the Nape stand. But I'm going to be doing some work with Lego education products. So everyone's going to build a little Lego model, and we're going to program those models. I'm not going to say too much about it. I want it to be a bit of a surprise, but we're going to be looking at how we can deliver computing and how we can deliver the programming aspect of the computing curriculum in a very contextualized way by using robotics and using manipulatives.
Sounds very interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Lego and computing together. I think that's something to be really worth.
It's dream team, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And just tell me a little bit about the conference. How did it come about? And what's the purpose of it overall?
Well, I think there's a need out there for a very worthwhile, very very hands-on and very informative education technology conference. We're at a stage now in the computing curriculum where we're kind of 2 years down the line. It's starting to become embedded, but teachers and schools still need a lot of ideas. And whilst big events like BET are really fantastic, they're only once a year, they're in London, they're not always accessible. So to have something a little bit more central, a little bit more, tailored, particularly in the with the ideas of having the focus on the speakers and the focus on the hands-on experience, whilst supported by a trade fair, doing it that way round, we saw a bit of a need there. So hopefully it's fulfilled that. It's a great turnout. We've got some great exhibitors, some really great high-profile speakers. So
it's got a great atmosphere, and I think the setup here works really well for everybody.
For sure. Yeah.
And I know you work in the computer industry within schools and education. So tell us a bit about that and how that all fits in together with sort of the Nape's idea of technology and the conference.
Well, I mean, I'm of course a teacher, as we all are on Nape. But my day job, if you like, as you say, is supporting schools, helping them deliver the computing requirements and integration of technology. And I see it as very much part of what Nape stands for, you know, in terms of, whoops, there's some noise going on, you know, in terms of letting children lead their own learning, and I think technology allows for that very well, as Tim's talk a minute ago pointed out really brilliantly, but also certainly with Lego education products, which is why I'm here today, which are all based on the educational theory of constructionism. So really allowing children to experiment and investigate and collaborate, while the teacher is very much a facilitator of that, as opposed to a deliverer of content, which is of course very much at the heart of Nape, of, you know, giving children a voice and not just education being a content delivery system.
Sure. Yeah. We should just point out that the feedback wasn't us, actually. It was it's something on the main
keynote. Absolutely, nothing to do with us.
So just tell us a little bit about your company and its name, and we'll have all this on the educational
absolutely.
website.
So the company is IE Solutions. And you can find us at ies.london, or search for us on Facebook for IE Solutions. So we formed about 5 years ago, really out of a need for schools to still have support around the computing aspect of the curriculum at a time when local authorities were kind of being disbanded. I was myself a local authority officer, and found myself in that position. So we work with schools across the country, as I said, primarily helping them in delivering the computing requirements. But, you know, we can also offer strategic support, practical support, working with children, working with teachers, and also, provide hardware and that kind of support and installation as well. So we try and offer the full package, which again is something that's, you know, we felt that would be advantageous to schools. So instead of going to one place for your training, another place for your strategy, another place for your hardware, we can offer that all in one. So as part of what I do as the training face, I suppose, as the company, I also freelance out to Lego Education and to Apple-approved suppliers as well. So we have lots of different hats that we wear, but fundamentally our job is to work with schools because we are teachers, and it's to make sure that the children get the very best out of what we can offer.
Thank you for listening to the Education on Fire podcast. For more information, please go to educationonfire.com.